Hey, Foot Clan, it is Giving Tuesday, and I want to invite you to join us on Facebook Live. The Fantasy Footballers will be answering questions on Facebook Live today at 4 p.m. Eastern on this Giving Tuesday as we work to raise funds and awareness for the Stomp Out Bullying campaign. Again, check that out on Facebook Live at 4 p.m. Eastern.
Hey, this is David Johnson, running back of the Arizona Cardinals, and you're listening to the Fantasy Footballers podcast.
Welcome to the Fantasy Footballers Podcast, coming to you from the Playdraft Studios with your hosts, Andy Holloway, Jason Moore, and Mike Wright.
Welcome into this wonderful, fine, spectacular Tuesday.
Well, thanks for having me, Andy.
It's just you and I, my friend. Well, I guess it's us three.
Yeah, you don't want to anger the bear. Show respect.
Welcome in, Jay Grizz. Welcome in. I'm Andy Holloway, joined by Jason Moore. Brooks is manning the control panel and the levers and gears and gadgets back behind the camera.
He's got gizmos aplenty.
And the gavels.
Oh, and the gavels, of course, the judge. Welcome into the show. It's going to be a good one today. We've got the quarterback streamer options on the show today. Very important if you listen to yesterday's show and the amount of quarterbacks that poop their big boy pants. Big time quarterbacks.
Mm-hmm.
And so you'll want to hear our streaming quarterback picks. I have a sneaking suspicion you won't want to listen to Jay Grizz's, but he will have his as well. And, of course, today's the waiver show.
Very important for a lot of people out there. Today is the start of playoffs. I would say the majority, like ourselves, start playoffs next week. So this is time to get in.
Yeah, this is the playoff push. This is big time. And I have a great little game to play with the quick question with you, Jay.
Oh,
because
I did not know this.
We need to clear some room on our rosters.
Okay.
And this morning, while I was enjoying a bowl of cereal, I walked through some of the players that are over 50% owned, and I picked out all the guys I think you can drop. And these are guys you can make room for some of these streaming options. So I want to bring this list up to you, and I want to see if you would drop
them or not.
Yeah.
All right.
Whether you'll drop them.
Let's see.
James White.
Oh, drop. Get out of here, James White. Your name should be Rex Burkhead. And it's not. Get off my team.
Okay. James White, goodbye. Kelvin Benjamin, see you later. I'm dropping him.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Now, if you need a roster spot this week, you cannot hold on and wait to see what you have maybe 3 weeks from now.
No. You'll be eliminated.
Yeah, time's up.
C.J. Anderson.
Yeah, get off my team, and I hope my opponent picks you up and starts you.
Oh, Marcus Mariota. I'm
not dropping Marcus Mariota yet. I actually think that his schedule coming up is okay. He's a hold to me.
Okay, I'm dropping him. Unpredictable. Hasn't delivered. Schedule hasn't mattered. That's why I'm letting him go. I'd rather have Josh McCown this week. Let's put it that way. Chris Hogan. I know he's been banged up and hurt, and maybe you think you want him. Would you drop Chris Hogan?
If Chris Hogan was out there, I think I would pick him up.
Sure.
So that says I would. If you need a roster spot and we're not sure about his health, then you could drop him. But I would prefer to hold.
I'm dropping Jeremy Maclin and Randall Cobb. Jason.
Jeremy.
Jeremy and C.J. Anderson, they're hanging out together in your doghouse?
Yeah, you know where they aren't hanging out together? On the football field. Where was Jeremy Maclin?
Well, he did fall down that one time he was targeted.
I mean, I literally watched that game last night and thought, is Mike Wallace the only wide receiver they're lining up? It was unbelievable.
Joe Flacco's not playing well, by the way.
Oh,
I think he was 1 for 12 on his last 12 deep passes. He's not throwing the ball well.
Yeah.
Doug Martin.
Doug Martin is droppable.
I agree.
He's probably going to miss this week with a concussion. Hasn't looked good. Could be one of those landmine situations that is going to hurt you if you start him. How about, let me throw a name out there for you. T.Y. Hilton.
Yeah, that one's tough. And the next refrain out of my mouth was going to be it's time to put the names aside for the sake of the playoffs. It doesn't matter if their names are big, like Doug Martin or Kelvin Benjamin, C.J. Anderson. You just drop them, and then you give me T.Y. Hilton.
He's
and the
a big name. He's a big name. He's tempting.
I would not drop him. No, I wouldn't. Because
would you ever play him?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I would. I would consider playing him. I think in a week from now he plays Buffalo.
Yes.
And T.Y. Hilton's the kind of player that can get you 30 points if you get it right.
If you get it right, you can.
You could be a team that's playing a more challenging opponent in the playoffs.
I guess the way I look at it, and I'm a T.Y. Hilton owner, this last week was one of those try to get it right moments where you start him and he only got you 2.5 points, and 3 out of his next 4. You're right. A week from next week, in week 14, first week of the playoffs, you get Buffalo. That could be one of those games you start him. But the other 3 weeks, do you know what those are?
Not good.
Jacksonville, Denver, and Baltimore. So you have the chance to start him 1 out of the next 4 weeks,
good?
And he might still suck that week.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess you can drop him. It's just you might not have better home run options on the waiver wire, but maybe you do. How good is DeAndre Hopkins?
Holy moly. Honestly, he's so good. He's won me over completely. I keep wanting
big games against Patrick Peterson and now Baltimore.
I want to doubt Tom Savage because, of course, he's bad. But Hopkins is so good. That play where I think it was on Jimmy Smith where
the first play?
Well, every play, but the one towards the end where he was passing he was held. His jersey was tugged down to where his shoulder pad popped out, and it's like they put him in a straitjacket, and he caught the ball.
If you want to understand the difference between an elite wide receiver and an average Joe, or an elite wide receiver and an elite athlete that isn't an elite wide receiver, all you have to do is watch DeAndre Hopkins run routes and how physical he is at the point.
At the point of everything.
At the point of everything. He's the most physical wide receiver. He is unrelenting. He pushed Jimmy Smith around. He did that same thing to Patrick Peterson. And he is right now, at least in our league of record, the #1 wide receiver on the season. And he has pushed through the Deshaun Watson injury.
Yeah, he's pushed through Tom Savage even in bad matchups. I mean, the last week and this week were 2 weeks where I did not believe, prior to what we've seen happening, I didn't believe that you were going to get good weeks out of Hopkins. And he's like, no, I'm DeAndre Hopkins. I'm going to be just fine.
All right, couple of announcements for the Foot Clan. First of all, we've got a Megalodon winner. What was that? That was from the Megalodon episode?
If you listened to the Megalodon episode, which of course you did because you're awesome, here's the real question. Did you listen all the way through to the very end of the episode? Because at the end of the episode, we said we were going to have a Megalodon giveaway for those that made it through, and $100 to shopballers.com, where you can get cool T-shirts like Draft Day is My Christmas or Withstanding Victories, any mugs of your liking. So a $100 gift card goes to, drum roll please.
Do I don't have it. Oh, I do have a drum roll.
Oh, do you really? Oh, thank you. That's way better. Salty Walty 15 at Salty Walty 15 on Twitter.
Walter Huffstutler. Or as I will go with, Walter Hufflepuff.
Walter Hufflepuff.
A wizard.
At Salty Walty 15, you are a wizard who has won.
Yes,
You're
congratulations.
A winner.
And if you heard the very beginning of the show, today is Giving Tuesday over on Facebook. I believe the Bill Gates Foundation is matching up to $2 million of donations to qualified nonprofits, and we're going to join in that cause. And Jason and myself will be on a Facebook Live event this afternoon at 4 p.m. Eastern Time, answering fantasy questions. It'll give you the opportunity to contribute towards the Stop Out Bullying campaign. That's the campaign that we chose to go with.
Ran by David Johnson.
Well, he's an advocate
very
for it,
involved for it.
And it's something we've all got, myself, Mike, Jason, we all have 3 kids. I'm pretty sure there's no one out there that either didn't deal with bullying themselves growing up or knows somebody that did. And now you have the internet and cyberbullying and a lot of the implications that trickle down from that. And it's a very important cause, and it's one that David Johnson was very vulnerable in sharing his story at Players Tribune about a year ago, talking about growing up in his neighborhood, being bullied, and how he got through that and how he encourages kids to get through that. So we want to raise money towards those efforts, and so that'll be today on Facebook Live at 4 p.m. Eastern. We're going to jump into the news.
News and notes from around the league.
All right, let's talk about the big news. The hammer came down. The judge declared a verdict. Michael Crabtree, Aqib Talib have both been suspended 2 games.
2 more. So much for that ejection, taking them out of the suspension category. And I read the letters individually that were sent to Michael Crabtree and to Aqib Talib from the NFL describing why they were suspended, and it makes sense. Now, they're both going to appeal. They are both currently appealing the suspension. I expect that it's swiftly decided. I wouldn't be surprised if it got turned into 1 game.
I wouldn't be surprised, but I'm guessing it's going to stick. That was a pretty intense on-the-field battle. I think you have a precedent being set by the NFL in that one.
And reading through
really
the letters,
a bad look.
They highlighted everything that the players did, and when you read it, and you go, oh yeah, that was pretty terrible. I forgot that Aqib Talib ripped off Crabtree's helmet and then threw it at him. I mean, that was so, yeah, not good. They're both out for 2 weeks. We don't yet know about Amari Cooper with his concussion.
And a sprained ankle.
Yeah.
So it's very possible Seth Roberts is a streaming wide receiver option this week. He basically would be the de facto #1 wideout in Oakland if Amari Cooper sat, because Crabtree's definitely sitting. Steelers don't know whether Juju Smith-Schuster and his tiny hamstrings are going to play in Week 13.
Yeah, we need Salty Walty to do like a growth spell on those hamstrings so that Amari can get back out there.
Okay, Salty Walty.
He's a wizard, right?
He's a wizard. Yeah, I just thought you'd go with Walter Hufflepuff if you're making the wizard reference, but it's fine. Salty Walty sounds like a normal wizard name.
I can't avoid the name when it's Salty Walty.
Right.
15.
Yeah, so, well, you had Salty Crabtree and Salty Talib, so
they were
there you go.
Extremely salty.
The Bills confirmed the aforementioned Kelvin Benjamin dealing with the torn meniscus day-to-day. He's not going to play in Week 13. That's what I would expect.
Yeah, day-to-day, if he suits up. But you can't start him. You have, nothing that says if he's out there, you can trust him.
Paxton Lynch out 2 to 4 weeks with a high ankle sprain. Trevor Siemian's going to start Week 13. From what I understand, Denver is looking at Mohamed Sanu. They're trying to make a trade to acquire him at quarterback.
He's got a cannon. Looked good on that Julio Jones throw.
No, it's not good in Denver, but Siemian's going to start. So.
In all seriousness, this is good news for fantasy football owners with Denver. Especially, I'm going to throw Devontae Booker out there. We'll talk about him in the waiver wire pickups, but I think the offense is best, albeit not great, but best with Trevor Siemian in tow. And so if they are truly wanting, as the metrics kind of point towards, to get Booker more involved and see what they have in him, it's better to have a good offense than a bad one.
Okay.
Or I should say a decent one than a bad one.
Sure. Kobe Fleener has his 5th concussion of his career now, so he may not play this week. Not that it matters. Brooks, is Kobe Fleener in that top 5 category that Jason used to talk about?
No.
No, he's not.
No.
Is he in the top 10?
It was top 5 in concussions. So Brooks, how's he doing there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nailed it.
Yeah, you are a wizard, as they say.
I'm very salty.
Greg Olsen, good news. He's been deemed okay. Is he okay for fantasy owners?
I would say this. He is going to be okay for fantasy owners that are streaming the bottom of the barrel, of which there are many of you. But I would not play him. Usually, if this was a healthy Greg Olsen without Kelvin Benjamin, you'd be talking about him with the Jimmy Grahams and the other top-end tight ends. That's over. That's just not happening. You can't trust a guy with the foot injury to stay out there.
Okay, and then last note here, Devin Funchess jammed his toe. He plans to play through the issue. We know the targets are there. Devin Funchess Should be okay moving forward.
Yes, Count Von Bunches of Funches or Devin S. Scrumptious.
I've heard a lot of honey bunches of funches, which, you know,
that sounds delicious.
pretty good, but we're sticking with, you know, scrumptious.
Yeah, Devin S. Scrumptious. All right, well, let's get to the waivers. Before we do, want to thank our friends at Pristine Auction.
Dear friend.
You know them. You love them. It's the best place for signed sports memorabilia or any memorabilia.
If you want to know whether we believe in our sponsors, we had lunch with the guys at Pristine Auction at Raising Cane's yesterday.
That is true. It was a double dip of sponsor.
Yeah.
We're just living the sponsor life.
Really delicious.
Yeah, I mean, look, if Christmas coming up, don't just get a gift card to Walmart. Boring. Get an unbelievable gift, and it's an auction. Thousands of auctions going on there all the time, and hundreds of them starting up every single day. Here's just three that finished yesterday. Deshaun Jackson's signed Buccaneers jersey sold at $46.
Wow.
63 cents. Michael Crabtree, the chain did not come with it. It was ripped off. But that was $51.16.
Wow.
Ripped off by Aqib Talib.
Right.
Suspension pending.
No, he bought it.
And Juju Smith-Schuster, A Star Is Born, I believe in his future, $51 for a signed jersey that finished yesterday. Those are Christmas gifts.
PristineAuction.com.
Pristine Auction, Pristine auction.com. Make a completely free account and tell them the footballers sent you.
We also could not do this show without the support of our sponsor, SeatGeek. There is nothing quite like seeing your favorite team in person. Look, we all know this. If you've been to a game, if you've been to see your favorite musician, there's nothing like that in-person experience. But we don't like complicated. It's 2017, Jason.
Yeah.
We don't like complicated. And you know what SeatGeek does? 2 taps.
Two taps.
They have a seamless mobile experience that lets you buy and sell tickets in just 2 taps.
Super easy.
It searches multiple ticket sites. You compare pricing. You can see very easily and visually the best ticket available. They're all that we have ever used over the last 3 years to get tickets, and it's always been super easy. I have the app on my phone. It's the easiest way that I shop for tickets, and it can be anywhere. And with 2 taps, I can find seats. I actually just used the SeatGeek app to buy some more tickets to see the Cardinals this year. It is a great opportunity to jump in there because they give you $20 off your first SeatGeek purchase if you use the code FOOTBALLER. So download.
They're only one game out of the playoffs, Andy.
That's right. I made that point to you. Wild card. They're still there. Blaine Gabbert forever. The SeatGeek app. Use the promo code FOOTBALLERS today, and you get $20 off your first SeatGeek purchase.
Yeah.
Let's talk waivers.
Put me in, coach.
If in Gabbert we trust, we're gonna lose.
The problem with any conjecture about Blaine Gabbert, who's played very well in Arizona and could very well, I mean, Bruce Arians this morning came out and said he could be the starter next year.
It's true.
The problem is that you start to name names in the NFC if you're the Cardinals, and you say, well, we've got to go up against Russell Wilson, Jared Goff. We've got to go up against Cam Newton, Drew Brees. We've got to go up against Carson Wentz,
Aaron Rodgers,
Dak Prescott, Aaron Rodgers, Matthew Stafford. And no matter how you spin it, Blaine Gabbert's name does not stack up.
Doesn't rise above.
So I'm not exactly thrilled with that as a Cardinal fan, but he has played well. All right, let's talk about wide receivers available on the waivers. We're going to throw out a couple probably owned names.
These guys, they're owned in most leagues, 80% of leagues, but just check. We say this every week. Every single week, we're like, hey, you got to check out some of these names, and every week we get tweets saying, why are you telling us these names? And then follow-up tweets of, oh, my goodness.
Just keep your eyes on them.
They were available. Jamison Crowder.
Start of the week.
Great start. And Robbie Anderson. How in the world there is, a quarter of leagues almost that don't have Robbie Anderson rostered?
That seems doubtful, but look, keep your eye on it. Crowder, Anderson. Let's focus on the main waiver wire pickups. I said it yesterday. He's going to be my start of the week. He's my favorite waiver wire pickup, and his name is Cooper Kupp. Last week, 8 for 116 on 11 targets. Has Arizona this week. I expect Patrick Peterson to shadow Sammy Watkins for the majority, maybe not all, of the game. Cooper Kupp, I love Cooper Kupp this week.
Absolutely. I mean,
no Robert Woods.
Everything that you're talking about with Patrick Peterson. We've seen it time and time again this season. The Cardinals' defense against wide receivers, they're really, really bad. But if you look at how they fared against the wide receiver one on the team, they're pretty good because Patrick Peterson. That means that Cooper Kupp is a great play. And also for deeper leagues, if you're like, stop saying these probably owned guys, how about this name? Josh Reynolds is a guy that in super deep leagues you could probably pick up and play him. He was on the field for over 70% of snaps with Robert Woods out. He's the rookie wide receiver for the Los Angeles Rams, and he had 6 targets, caught 4 of them, 1 touchdown. So against the Cardinals, Cooper Kupp and Josh Reynolds should combine for, I agree with you. It's probably Kupp. He's definitely the guy I would go for. But if all these other names in our waiver wires aren't available, Josh Reynolds will be out there.
Yeah, Reynolds was a 4th-round pick. He was a dynasty pickup, and we haven't had a chance to see him. But he did well with 6 targets last week, scored a touchdown. Let's turn the page over here. Let's talk about the Cleveland Browns.
Yes.
On purpose. Let's talk about them on purpose. The Corey Coleman, Josh Gordon experience.
All right. So, who's it going to be? Corey Coleman, Josh Gordon. I believe that Corey Coleman is a must-own. Now, while we're talking about these guys, it's worth noting neither one has the most beautiful of schedules. Los Angeles Chargers this week with 2 pretty solid corners there. Green Bay next week, which is great, but then Baltimore. It's a mixed bag. But I believe it's going to be Corey Coleman, and the reason why is because in the small sample of games in the NFL that we have from Corey Coleman so far, he has shown himself to be what he was drafted to be, an elite wide receiver, a guy that can get open, a good route runner, and usually good hands, despite the fact that he dropped that awesome touchdown pass last game.
I understand that, and Josh Gordon returns this week, for those wondering. Josh Gordon will be back on the field. Hugh Jackson says he wants him to play as much as possible. Now, we don't know the shape that Josh Gordon's in. Instagram says he's in good shape.
All photos say he is in Terminator shape.
But we don't know cardio. We don't know game plan. I would rather, if I had to choose, the way I'd probably roll this out on my waiver wire as I drop Jeremy Maclin or some of those names from earlier, I would put the same bid in on both guys, and I would be content getting either.
But
however,
you got to order them. In that system, you got to put one above the other.
And I'll order Josh Gordon ahead. Deshaun Kaiser, cannon, deep ball, Josh Gordon, elite speed, elite talent, 14 NFL touchdowns. I would go Josh Gordon. I think he's a better player. Now, he's been out of the league. So, I mean, if you're listening to me say that and going, come on, what are you talking about? That's fine. Go with Corey Coleman. I just think that the actual ceiling for Gordon, if you're rolling the dice on a late season savior team in the playoffs kind of guy, I mean, you probably don't want to play either of them, do you?
I think it'll depend on the matchups. I'm okay. I'm actually fine playing Corey Coleman right now. I believe in him. There's far fewer question marks for me with Corey Coleman than there are with Josh Gordon, because we have to remember, before Josh Gordon left his final 6 games of that previous season, which I think was in 1982, he wasn't that good.
Yeah, he was high, Jason.
But that's part of the problem. A lot of times people are talking about this. So if you didn't hear the report, I think we shared this on the show a couple weeks ago. You know, in a very open interview, Josh Gordon revealed that he had never once in his career played a game sober. Every single game before the game, he was either drunk or high or both. And people are saying, well, wow, now we get to see what a sober Josh Gordon is like. And I'm thinking, so the Josh Gordon that has always been great, and now he's going to be a different person, I mean, he's not used to playing like this. So there's just a lot of variables that say to me, yes, he's got the physical tools to get it done. I would much rather go Corey Coleman.
And that's fine. I think this is a long discussion over 2 players that you really would like to avoid playing. I mean, I don't want to lean on either guy for my fantasy playoffs. Would you rather have Josh Doxson right now, 43% owned Josh Doxson, who has Dallas, the Chargers, and Arizona on the docket?
I would rather have Corey Coleman.
Okay, I'd rather have Josh Doxson.
This week, I would rather have Josh Doxson. I like the matchup against Dallas, but I think Josh Doxson against the Chargers, Arizona, and then followed by Denver is going to have a rough
You're going to have to
stretch.
pick one of them. You're going to have to pick one of those guys. You said for this week you like Josh Doxson.
Yes,
this is
week,
waiver wire.
No, if I had to pick one of them up, I would pick up Corey Coleman.
All right, Marquise Goodwin put up 4 for 78. He has Chicago in Chicago this week, and there's a chance that Garoppolo is behind center. I don't know if that's going to matter very much in Chicago. Chicago's defense, it's pretty good. I don't think I'm going to pick up Goodwin if I have other options. That's just the way I lean.
I like Goodwin. I think he's shown himself to be elite enough, have elite enough speed to beat anyone. And there is the variable of Garoppolo coming in. We haven't seen him. Can he throw the same deep ball that Beathard and Hoyer were throwing?
Better quarterback.
But he is he is a better quarterback. So I actually like Goodwin. And while Chicago is an underrated defense, they're not, a defense that I'm not willing to play guys against. I don't sit guys because they're in Chicago.
No.
And following Chicago, you've got Houston and Tennessee, two teams that I really usually love lighting up wide receivers. I give them the green light against those matchups. So I think Goodwin is up there with anyone. I might prefer Goodwin to Doxson if I'm looking for someone I need over the next 3 weeks. But Doxson, if you are looking for a weekly start, Doxson's a great pickup against Dallas.
Other name to throw out there, Zay Jones. Last week, 3 for 33 and a touchdown. Buffalo has New England.
Indy, Miami. It's a great stretch.
Yeah, you could probably do better, but Zay Jones is another guy that's out there and pretty much unowned. So if you need a spot start, don't forget about Nelson Aguilar. He's in that probably owned category, but he did have a nice 2-touchdown game if you count the fumble recovery, depending on what your league does. Paul Richardson might still be out there as an option.
D.D. Westbrook, I'll throw that name out. Yeah. I mean, I think there's a lot of buzz on Twitter. That's all you could say about it.
Well, D.D. Westbrook said he was going to have a 200-yard game in his first game.
And he didn't. He was a liar.
Yeah, he didn't at all. Running back options, guys. Jason, what are some probably owned? Keep them on your radar just in case. Check your waiver wire. Just do a little.
Absolutely.
Just do a little check-see.
There's, about 20 to 30% owned guy or available guys in Frank Gore, LeGarrette Blount, Alfred Morris still out there in 30% of leagues. Latavius Murray and 20%. Alex Collins
nice game last night.
Surprisingly good against Houston last night.
Couple big
Samaje Perine still available in over 20% of leagues. Isaiah Crowell, Duke Johnson Jr. All of those guys have to be rostered. They're not guys I would drop. They're probably owned, but take a look-see.
You're starting LeGarrette Blount over Jay Ajayi right now.
Yeah, I am. I mean, if you have to say who's going to get double-digit carries, everything points to Blount over Ajayi.
All right, main waiver wire pickups. These are the guys that are more available. These are the guys you need to be looking at this week, and it's got to be Kenyon Drake right now. Kenyon Drake looks like he will be the featured back without Damian Williams this week against Denver. He's at home.
He is my absolute favorite running back pickup. Now, this matchup against Denver is not very good. Denver's been stout against the run.
But he's not your prototypical runner either.
Right.
He has big play capability if he gets the snaps. He can catch the ball out of the backfield. I think he's really safe this week. I think 9-10 points, that's your floor for Kenyon Drake.
Yeah, he's just going to get he's going to get so much use because there is no one else there. I mean, Jay Ajayi is gone. Damian Williams is gone. They're activating guys from the practice squad who don't know the system. It's Kenyon Drake or bust. So he's my favorite guy, and it looks like it's a multiple-week thing at least with Damian Williams. The shoulder was reportedly separated. So you're talking probably another 2 weeks after this week, which is going to take you almost through the fantasy playoffs. Jamal Williams is another name. He's got a much better matchup this week against Tampa Bay. He should be right there with Kenyon Drake.
Yeah, he's right there with Drake.
But the reason I lean Drake, even though it's a slightly worse matchup this week, is because Ty Montgomery will be back before Damian Williams will be back.
I want to throw Danny Woodhead out there very close to those two guys. Now, last night, 4 for 22 on the ground, 4 for 23 through the air. But let me tell you why. These next 2 weeks, Baltimore takes on Detroit and Pittsburgh. These are both teams with offenses that I think will
put up points.
Danny Woodhead, I think, will be on the field. We saw the lack of options that Joe Flacco has right now. Now, I know Alex Collins is out there. I know Buck Allen got out there last night. But Danny Woodhead's who they want to feature in the passing game out of the backfield. I think Danny Woodhead right now maybe ignored on waivers because he didn't blow up last night.
Yeah, it's really good news, and I agree with you, because if you watched last night's game, what you saw is when it goes to the no huddle, when it goes to the speed play, the 2-minute drill, you only got to see that once from Baltimore. That was leading up at the end of the first half, because they were running up against the clock, and it's all Danny Woodhead, and it's tons of those little drop-off passes. But Baltimore was playing from ahead this game. I agree with you. Against Detroit, against Pittsburgh, they're far more likely in those matchups than against Houston to be playing from behind, where they've got to run that hurry-up offense, and the fourth quarter is going to be Danny Woodhead time.
Jaquiz Rogers, likely to get the start this week with Doug Martin concussed.
Honestly, there's a lot of quality running backs this week on waivers. Some of these weeks is like there's just about no one you could pick up and do a spot start on. But here, Jaquiz Rogers, maybe it's going to be Peyton Barber. He got the touchdowns this last week if Doug Martin is absent. But Jaquiz Rogers still was the leader in running back market share, had more carries, and we have experience earlier in the year when Doug Martin was gone of seeing what Tampa Bay chose to do, and it was Quiz. So I think it will be Quiz again this week.
Rex Burkhead, Matt Forte, Devontae Booker.
All three guys available in the majority of leagues. All three guys you could play this week. And all three guys with, I would say, plus matchups. Burkhead
Especially
at
Booker.
Buffalo and Booker
For the
at
next
Miami.
4 weeks, Booker has Miami, New York. That would be the Jets. Indianapolis, Washington.
Yeah, I would pick up Booker next. I would probably pick up Booker even ahead of Danny Woodhead. So I see Jamal Williams and Kenyon Drake as a combo, and then I would see Booker, Woodhead.
Woodhead's got Cleveland, Indianapolis in semifinal and championship week. I'd rather have Woodhead.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of one of those things where I think if the team is up, that those might not be the best matchups for Danny Woodhead, Cleveland and Indy.
Yeah, you're right.
I mean, it's
Could
one
be
of those
the Alex Collins.
Exactly.
Yeah, we just talked about that with the matchups. So some super deep pickups, names to throw out there. Rod Smith was on the field a lot last week. Darren McFadden's been released. So Rod Smith, 9 for 41 and a touchdown. Peyton Barber, the 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, I was just going to say, if Dak keeps playing the way he has, they're going to be down, and then they'll need Rod Smith.
Some handcuffs. This is the time. If you're loaded up, let's say you don't need somebody to start, but you need to ensure that your roster is good to go.
If you've got Melvin Gordon on your team,
you better have Austin Eckler.
Yeah, you're going into the playoffs. Be prepared. This is the time of year where handcuffs actually matter.
And I'll throw Travaris Cadet out there. Travaris Cadet, Buffalo Bills running back. He's been getting snaps, third down opportunities. No Tolbert right now. And LaShawn McCoy, if he went down, I think Travaris Cadet would actually see a pretty big workload. Let
me ask you this.
Yes.
You're a team, you're playoff bound, and you have LaShawn McCoy on that team. Danny Woodhead and Travaris Cadet are out there. Would you rather pick up a Danny Woodhead?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I would. And in my situation, I have LaShawn McCoy. I didn't pick up Travaris Cadet because I have depth at running back. I can play a DeMarco Murray if I need to.
It's much better to have a startable guy without the injury as the backup than
But if you own Fournette right now with the foot injury and you don't own TJ Yeldon or Chris Ivory.
Which one is it?
I would take Yeldon right now because of Ivory being banged up and Yeldon actually being used. I think that's all you can do is just pick the most recently used guy, James Conner in Pittsburgh, to back up. That's a situation, great offense. James Conner would get tons of work. I would rather have James Conner if I'm the love ball owner than I would Danny Woodhead.
Yeah,
that's an example of like
James Conner.
A meaty handcuff.
For sure, because we've seen it with Pittsburgh. They have one running back, and they're going to play him all game long and barely spell him. It doesn't matter who it is. They're a one running back guy. And I'm just going to throw out 2 more names from the Seattle Seahawks. J.D. McKissick, if you're in any kind of PPR league, he's been a startable, playable guy for sure. And then Mike Davis. I don't know if he's going to be healthy or not for this week, but I expect when he is back, he was activated this last week, and he was the clear starter and looked to be the best running back on the team. So if he's healthy, I think Mike Davis goes right back to being the #1 running back there.
Yeah, Eddie Lacy is being used only because they hate Thomas Rawls so much.
Yes.
But they hate them both. Don't get it wrong. They hate them both. All right, tight ends. Important position. For me, the one that jumps off the page that's been forgotten, he's on a ton of waiver wires, Charles Clay, 4 for 60 last week. When Tyrod Taylor's there, Charles Clay's involved.
Mm-hmm.
They have they stand next together.
He's Mr. Necessary.
They stand next together on the sideline, Jason.
They do. They sometimes hold hands.
From what I understand, it's possible.
Allegedly.
Yeah, I mean, the camera's normally zoomed at a level where I can't tell, but they stand next to each other, and they might hold hands.
They could, and I've seen him throw the ball to him in the game several times.
That's the real key. All right, so Charles Clay.
And they've got Buffalo has a great schedule coming up. I know New England is a good defense now, but they're still a defense where they're going to score and put you in a position to keep throwing the ball. And so they play New England twice, and then Indianapolis and Miami. That's the stretch from here on out to the finish of championship week, unless you play in week 17 like a dummy.
Now, the good news is Tyler Kroft's available in more than 50% of leagues, and he always scores a touchdown. Now, the bad news, the yards aren't really there. What you're waiting for is Cincinnati to get around the 3, play action fake to Joe Mixon, and find Tyler Kroft. That's how he's been scoring, but he is a streamable option.
I don't love his matchups coming up. Pittsburgh, Chicago, Minnesota, teams that are, pretty decent. I mean,
against
middle of the
end.
pack to better against tight ends. And because you're only looking for that touchdown from him, I think I would rather have Julius Thomas.
Orange Julius,
who is, I guess he's still got a little
Caesar?
orange. A little orange in it. He was far more Orange Julius
in Denver.
But
that was part of the contract, though. He has to have a little bit
of orange because of the sponsorship he has with
Bengals were interested.
Yes, the Bengals. But Julius Thomas, from Peyton Manning fame of yesteryear, has been more and more involved recently. He had 6 targets, 5 for 52 this past week, and he's coming up against a pretty good schedule for tight ends. Again, New England, he plays Denver this week, which is a great defense, but usually not against tight ends. And Buffalo and Kansas City. So Julius Thomas is another guy. And my favorite, I mean, he's probably owned.
Cook?
67% owned, but Hunter Henry. Hunter Henry, 5 for 76 on a touchdown last week. And this week, we always talk about the 3 teams, really the 2 teams that you always want to start the tight end against, which is Cleveland and the New York Giants. So that if you're looking for those options, that's Hunter Henry against Cleveland and Jared Cook against the Giants.
Jared Cook could be in a prime position this week.
Jared Cook is a drop-it-like-it's-hot candidate out the wazoo because he put up a line of 1 reception for 1 yard and no touchdown this last week. So people are going to drop him.
And there's no Amari Cooper, no Michael Crabtree, and Cook had a touchdown call back.
Yeah, he caught a touchdown,
this last
barely rolled out. It was bobbling
Jared Cook's my favorite pickup this week for a streaming option.
Yes, he's more owned, but I mean, he'll probably be a guy that if he's not owned when your waiver's clear, watch who was dropped.
Baby hands, if he's out there. Baby hands Jack Doyle went back to the 7 for 94 range, 8 targets, and they play Jacksonville. And I like Jack Doyle to produce better than those wideouts against Jacksonville. So we saw Ricky Seals-Jones. Ricky Seals-Jones against Jacksonville, 4 for 72 and a touchdown. So Jack Doyle could do some work there. Ricky Seals-Jones is a deep pickup candidate, along with Eric Ebron and O.J. Howard.
If you have an extra spot and you're looking for a guy, maybe you're in a deeper league, I would pick him up now because while we wouldn't recommend to start him this week because his snaps and his routes run are still pretty low, if that trend changes in this game, they say, hey, we're getting him more involved in the passing game, just – even if he doesn't have more, counting stats at the end of the day, if he's on the field for more snaps and he runs more routes, then I'm going to fire him up.
Okay. Just wait for the counting stats?
Yeah.
All right. Defensive streaming options. Huge. Huge right now. You got to pick up a defense. You got to do it now. Let's say this week you've already clinched. This is kind of your throwaway week, right? You've clinched. You've got the bye. It's a throwaway week for you. You've got to be looking 2 weeks ahead at these matchups and stash your bench. Fill your bench with handcuffs and defenses if you're loaded.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what I would do. And so if you need a win this week, what are some defenses we can trust?
For this week, the Los Angeles Chargers are my favorite. They have been stellar over the last month or so. Their defense is great. They're playing to win. They're one game out of the division lead, and they're playing the Cleveland Browns. So they're
checks every box.
Yes.
Okay. Chicago takes on San Francisco, maybe Jimmy Garoppolo, but they're at home this week. Washington, they take on Dallas. Dallas can't do anything right now. Washington's probably the defense you don't want to sign because you're used to not playing people against Dallas.
Yep.
But this week, I don't know. They've got a heck of a pass rush.
Man, this week you get to play against you get the chance to play against the new Dak Prescott.
Oh,
and you're going to want to take that chance as a defense. Yeah. Not good.
Man, I'm just thinking about what Dak was and what he is right now.
R.I.P.
Tennessee takes on Houston. Tom Savage alert. The New Orleans Saints, they get Carolina. I'm not too excited about that one. That's going to be a fun matchup, though, 8-3. I'm excited about the game, not necessarily the defense on either side. Kansas City, they get the Jets. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of that one either. But Tampa Bay gets Green Bay. Would you consider starting to them against Brett Hundley?
I wouldn't. Because Brett Hundley is I think Brett Hundley is bad, but I think Tampa Bay is worse.
Sure. What about the Dolphins defense against Simeon this week? Probably not.
No, you want to know who I'm going to throw a team out there that will probably be dropped in a lot of leagues because they don't have the best matchup this week, and they're kind of 3 weeks in a row of being a dud. But the Houston Texans in 2 weeks plays San Francisco. So if you're looking ahead, they're a team to pick up right now. You know, I would pick them up. The Chiefs have a good run for this week and next week. And the Patriots D, we've said this for a couple weeks in a row, but the Patriots D has been great. And they're still not, you know, they're available in a large portion of leagues. And their schedule coming up, Buffalo, Miami, and Buffalo, 3 out of the 4 next weeks. I would look to pick up the Patriots as well.
Okay, let's talk quarterbacks.
Full stream ahead.
Now, come on, Jay.
Jay Grizz, this is gross.
Once again, Jay Grizz is going with Mitch Trubisky as a streamer this week.
Every single time, it's the Bears.
It's ridiculous.
Get some originality, Jay Grizz. There.
Embarrassing.
All right, here's some originality. I'm going to stay in the Bears division. How about that, Jay Grizz? And I'm going to go with Case Keenum. I said yesterday that I believe he is
You said Pro Bowler.
Yes, and I believe that. I believe what he's played at this level has been Pro Bowl caliber quarterbacking. I mean, he's done everything they've needed to do. He's protected the ball decently well. No turnovers in the last 2 games. Over 280 yards both games. 3 touchdowns. And now this week he plays Atlanta, who's middle of the pack. But Atlanta might be able to score on the difficult Vikings D, causing Case Keenum to have to throw the ball more. I don't see Case Keenum for fantasy as a top 10 quarterback locked and loaded. You must start. But he has been so solid in real NFL football that I think when you're looking at the waiver wire and you're needing kind of that safer play, who I don't think is going to go out there and throw 125 yards and 2 picks, as some waiver wire type of guys have the potential to do. He just has too many weapons, I think, to be bad. So Case Keenum, I think, is a safe streamer this week.
All right, I'm going to go with Josh McCown. Going back to Josh McCown, we saw the big week last week, couple touchdowns to Robbie Anderson. If there's one thing Josh McCown can do, it's play unafraid. He just hurls the ball downfield, always willing to take a hit, to take a shot downfield. Has Kansas City this week. I think Josh McCown is a great streaming option. It might be able to get you a win and get you into the playoffs.
Yeah, he's playing at home. I love that play. Did you know Josh McCown is the quarterback 13 right now in the season? So if he has a good week this week, he's going to be a quarterback 1. And most impressive, the most impressive thing by far, is that he has played every game this year.
Until now.
Well, yes. I'm just saying if he's a few games away from finishing a complete season, which despite having played in the league for 72 years, he has not done once yet.
You want to hear another crazy stat?
I would love to.
DeMarco Murray is the running back 15. on the year.
Nobody feels that way.
No, you don't. He's having a regular Frank Gorish type of
That's why I
season.
said last episode he's not a guy that I would bench quite yet just because of his involvement in the passing game. It's annoying. He looks bad.
How are your pipes, Jason?
Oh, no.
How are your pipes?
Oh, am I doing this?
Mailbag.
Yeah.
Not bad.
It's no Mike.
You've definitely done worse before.
I certainly have.
That's great.
Yeah.
Thank you, Brooks. Mike will be back soon. Don't worry.
We are sneaking in a little mailbag today. If you have a question for the podcast, you can go to thefantasyfootballers.com, click the submit a question button, or dial our voicemail hotline 302-464-TFFB. TFFB.
That's the easy way to remember
That's
it.
the easy way. It's 302-464.
TFFB.
Yeah. Waiver wire question from Colby in New York.
New York City.
Would you guys rather pick up LeGarrette Blount or Jaquiz Rogers? So he wants you to make the choice between those two guys in a PPR league.
In a PPR league, I'm still going to roll with LeGarrette Blount. I think he's got more usage long-term. Doug Martin is just a concussion, so he will be back.
I agree.
If it's only a 1 week spot start and you don't need him at all past, you just need a play this week, then Jaquiz would be better.
Here's a great question. Dylan in Tennessee wants to know Kareem Hunt or Joe Mixon rest of season.
Oh, Dylan.
In a PPR.
Oh, Dylan.
I'm taking Joe Mixon.
I think everyone has to take Joe Mixon right now.
At least you get 25 touches.
You just can't. Yeah, it's volume. I actually think both players are equally talented.
Of course.
The volume is guaranteed right now for Joe Mixon. If they're down, he's still involved. If they're up, he is even more involved. Kareem Hunt, you have no rhyme or reason for what Andy Reid is going to do with the volume. That being said, the offensive line is 100 times better in Kansas City than it is for the Bengals. Not that the Kansas City Chiefs have this perfect offensive line, but the Bengals' offensive line is still
imperfect. That's a sound effect for imperfect. Yeah, I mean, I think I'm going to go volume. I'm going to go volume at this point. I don't want to get pooped on.
Yeah. The better matchups are for Hunt over the next couple weeks.
Yeah, but I
would still go Mixon.
Look at last night. I mean, not last night, but look at this weekend. I mean, Pittsburgh still got ran on. I mean, Mixon's going to get the ball 25 times against them at home. I'm okay with that. Noah in East San Jose. So not west, not north. He's over in the east part of San Jose. Would you rather stream Case Keenum in Atlanta or Josh McCown?
Oh, what a great
at
question.
home? So pick one. Brooks, you pick one. We gave you Keenum and Josh McCown as the streaming options. He wants to know which to start. Who would you go with?
I'll take Case Keenum right now.
Yeah, the weapons.
Yeah.
The offense, the hot fire. They've won so many games in a row.
It is very, very close. If I had to pick between these two guys,
I'd go Keenum against Atlanta.
Yeah. It's so close. It really is. I'm tempted because of the home thing with Josh McCown, but Case Keenum does have better weapons, and I believe is the better quarterback right now.
Very important question here, Jason. This one comes in from Taco in Mexico.
Oh, bonjour. You are delicious.
It's so confusing. Hey, guys, why do you all go to vacation? Why do you guys all go on vacation to Disneyland?
Why do you guys all go on vacation? Well, we
Jason,
we tend to go one at a time.
Right. Mike is in Disneyland right now. I did go to Disneyland earlier this year. We all have 3 children.
Yeah,
bro.
The 3 children helps, but I went to Disneyland prior to having children. I would say this. The reason I go to Disneyland is because I enjoy having fun.
Oh.
Yeah. I like having a good time.
Right.
Definitely enjoy churros.
Churros are a big percentage.
Are great. Rides and joy. Joy is good. And also I love to just light money on fire. I mean, so when all those things come together, Disneyland is right up my alley.
Brooks, have you been out to
Brooks
Disneyland?
Is not a Disneyland guy. We've established
You ever been
this,
to California, Brooks?
Yeah, he came with us.
That one time.
Oh, yeah. You were right outside of Disneyland.
The outskirts, yeah.
Yeah. I bet you wanted to go in there.
Didn't really feel the magic.
You're a teacup guy, right?
Yeah.
You like tea.
Yes.
So you like spinning teacups.
How did you not feel the magic?
Yeah,
Salty Walty was there. He had to be nearby because I could feel the magic.
No, he's at Universal Studios at Hogwarts.
Oh, that makes so much. It's near enough. I was feeling from.
You were feeling some of the.
From a distance.
I guess I just didn't get it at the ESPN zone outside there.
I mean the ESPN
wasn't
zone
feeling
doesn't
it.
capture
No.
quite the same magic that inside of.
different places.
That's part of it. Well, I mean, he's downtown Disney.
Sure.
All right. On that note, we're done for the day. Hope you enjoyed the podcast.
We're done with this for the day.
Yeah,
Go
join
to the
us.
Facebook Live event. Make sure you join us there and play DFS with us at draft.com/ballers.
You got it. 4 p.m. today for the live stream.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Fantasy Footballers Podcast. Join our fantasy football community on jointhefoot.com and follow us on Twitter @TheFFBallers.